less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk.
Blah, 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 on and on and on.
Over there.
One, two, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself.
Okay.
For Craig.
Okay.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate. Stimulating. Hit you right in the... there you go.
We start becoming a team right now.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Lord Jesus. Oh, God, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host,
He's a good man.
Craig.
That's right. It is the Craig Collins Show. KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. I don't want to tell you what was happening off air, but there were some last-minute things that had to be fixed. So that's why there was a little bit more of a delay there. I'm actually still setting some things up that don't matter to you listening on the radio. But anybody listening on the stream or watching on the stream, it should all be working. I just have to do something over here to make it a little bit better for me. All right. I love that I get out of breath sometimes trying to run around and do some things at this radio station, because I both produce and then also host this show for an hour every single day, Monday through Friday. Thrilled to be with you, and so much stuff to talk about. One of the things I'm trying to, it's so crazy when you run around and then you're on the radio and you're like, I can't hide this. I'm out of breath. One of the things that I most want to talk about today, I think this is actually pretty interesting. Well, you know what? Screw it. Let's do the fun thing first, and then we'll do the serious thing, because I actually kind of like this fun thing too. President Trump said he is now planning to go to 2 NBA basketball games. I love this. I have absolutely been watching the NBA championship because the New York Knicks are there. I was a Michael Jordan fan as a little kid. So I was, I think, just because of that, a Chicago Bulls fan for a while. And then in adulthood, I kind of got sick of basketball for a bit, although I played it for a lot of my life. Not as well as those guys do, of course, but I played it myself. And so eventually I came back to basketball, became a Knicks fan. Then it went woke, and I stopped watching for a while. And now I'm really just back because the Knicks are finally in the playoffs again, finally in the NBA championship again, the first time since 1999, and the first time they might win a championship. And they look great, at least in the fourth quarter on Monday or on Wednesday. They will play again. I got a call coming in. Hold on 1 second over here. Caller, what's your name?
Hey, what's going on there, Mr. Professor?
Hey, Jimmy X. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I don't know. It's Thursday afternoon. We had an election in California 48 hours ago.
We did.
How is it we don't know the results?
It is on my list of stuff to talk about. It makes no sense. It can't actually be possible, Jimmy, and I'm sure you feel that way too. This has to be some sort of Democrat purpose, intentionally delaying what they, I guess, don't like about it or what they want to change and steal about it. It's illogical to think that they can't know who is actually in the running, you know, as far as the primaries are concerned. It makes no sense to me.
It screams fraud.
Yes,
Craig.
Of course it does.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fraud. And, you know, this is why we need the Save America Act, okay? And these are primaries that are going to impact you and me. That's why I'm interested in this, right?
Yeah.
Because they took their 53 seats and created what, 3 Republicans? There's going to be like a 50-3 margin. So that matters to me and
yes,
you.
It does. It matters a lot to all of us.
When you start looking at some of those primaries, because in order to, I mean, you know, California's blue, no doubt about it. But it was 45% red last time, which means there's a lot of Republican voters. In fact,
yes,
more people voted for Donald Trump in 2024 in California than any other state because it's so populated.
Yeah. No.
So when they had to do they did the redistricting, they had to shift a lot of Republican areas and hope that it goes light blue or purple.
Yeah.
And what was happening is what I was watching starting on Tuesday night is that a lot of those districts that they thought would be a blue district are suddenly being a lot stronger red, which again matters to you and me because we have to keep the House.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it was the LA Times. They put together like a list of all the reasons that it's not, we don't know all the results yet. And then in it, I think they referenced how President Trump, without evidence, they said, claimed that Democrats are somehow cheating in the California primary election. What I love about this is, out of all the things to create a controversy around, because of the amount of conversation about it, you would think that people would make sure they didn't have a situation like this occur where it's Thursday and we don't know, according to California, who's winning some of these primary races. You would think they would make sure to hide the fraud better so it wasn't this on display.
But there's no accountability because why isn't the LA Times, why isn't every major news media in the state of California screaming about these results?
Sure.
Because they don't want to know.
Yeah, they don't want to
know. They don't want other people to I mean, this is despicable, man.
Sure.
Okay, and
that cat's out of the bag. I'll say this, Jimmy. I think the cat's out of the bag. I think that more than ever before, the amount of Americans who'd be willing to have a conversation where they entertain the idea, and I know I'm being very ridiculous in the words I'm choosing, but I'm doing it on purpose, that our elections are fraudulent. Like, I think that's much higher now than it used to be. So I do agree with you that if the people in California were doing their job in the world of media, they'd be doing something that would actually be benefiting the people of California, and something I think a lot of the people there are thinking about. Why the hell don't we know who the winners are in these races, in some of these races yet? It makes no sense. I think a lot more people are closer there than they were just a short time ago.
How can France have an election, all paper, all same-day voting, and by that night you know who wins?
Well, we could all do that. I know. I love that version of a question. How can the Powerball know who won and where they sold it the day after, man? I never understand that.
Oh, man. So anyway, it's just something to be concerned about, something to keep an eye on.
Sure.
Let's not forget it. And, it's unfortunate that there is no such thing as a news media today. It's all propaganda, as the previous host, the Chris X, often likes to say, the propaganda media.
Yes.
And but again, no one's going to be held accountable because no one's going to push it, right?
Right. Well, what's uniquely funny, too, that you mentioned that California is one of the only places that's trying to fight against independent journalists, which are people that put up things on social media that go viral. California is trying to make that illegal in that state, and you wonder why.
Jail them. Yeah. It's the Nick Shirley Act.
Right.
Gosh, man, we can't have people asking questions, right?
Right. No, that'd be terrible.
Dude, this is Saul Alinsky 101, man.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
It is
this
crazy.
This is communism for radicals, or radicals for communism, wherever the stupid book was that he wrote.
Yes.
But anyway, man. Hey, I gave a quick plug yesterday on X's show. I'll give it here as well. Hopefully, there's some listeners out there. There's a new movie that came out last weekend. It's called Pressure. It stars Brendan Fraser. I can't remember his name.
Fraser, yeah.
Brendan Fraser. And it is the story of the 72 hours prior to the D-Day invasion, which we will celebrate 87 years on Saturday.
Wow.
The day we should never forget. Okay, June 6, 1944. And, being in the military, going to many military schools, we learned a little bit about this. But the movie really brought out a lot of things I didn't even know.
Wow.
And it is phenomenal on how that whole it was such an issue about the weather. And and the chief meteorologist and the Brit and the American. And I mean, there's a lot of dynamics, great acting, phenomenal movie. If you want to go see a movie, go see that one, not the stupid Star Wars 12 or whatever it is. Man.
Wait, I got a question though, Jimmy. You've seen this movie?
Yeah, I saw it last. Wife and I saw it Sunday.
Okay, is it out? Because I see like Thursday showings today, Friday showings. So this came out last week, you're saying, or it came out a little while ago? Okay.
No, last week was the debut, and of course, it's not getting a lot of publicity, or
yeah,
because it's a military movie,
right?
And it's good.
Wow,
and it doesn't twist and change history.
Wow.
So why should we want people to see it?
Why would we want people to be educated? Yeah, I was looking. There's like 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock showings tonight for this movie. All day Friday, Saturday, Sunday, any theater you want to go to. There's a lot of showings of it. I'm going to go to this. This seems amazing, and I had no idea this was a thing until you mentioned it on Chris's show.
Sounds like a Craig and Betty date night, bro.
It does.
Just say it.
Yeah. All right, fine. Yeah,
right.
I'll make the missus go to this.
Pizza or a hamburger, whatever.
You know what's funny?
And,
both. I like cheeseburger. You know what's funny about this, Jimmy, is I take my wife to some movies that she'll fall asleep in, like a Marvel movie or something that I want to go to. She won't fall asleep in this because this is real. She'll actually stay awake and pay attention the whole time. I think this is a good pick.
It's history. It's real.
Right.
And it's appropriate because it's the weekend we celebrate the anniversary, brother.
Well, thank you, Jimmy X, for that, man.
All right, man. Take care, Craig.
All right, talk to you later. Jimmy X, great caller all the time, one-time co-host of this show. I probably will do that again. To be honest, I got a few messages. I should have said this to Jimmy when he was on the phone, but I got through a few messages from listeners at Radio Craig C on Facebook being like, it's nice to have Jimmy there, to have a veteran as part of the Veteran Voices segment, and I used to do that. The other place that I did this segment for a long time, I had one of the guys at a local VFW come in and be a part of the show every single week. And it was fun because, of course, veterans talking to other veterans, they bring out things I'll never be able to talk about. So anybody that sent me those messages that said they were a fan of Jimmy X on the show, if he can coordinate it, I probably have to talk to his people. Maybe we'll invite him in again. At some point, we got to pay him, though. I don't know how that's all going to work. But anyway, we'll figure it out. But yeah, no, he did a great job the other day. All right, I will play this audio first since Jimmy asked for it. I do have audio, basically asked for it. I do have audio of the president saying he's going to New York Knicks basketball games, and I'm very interested in that. But the president did talk about California and the election and how much he wants elections in general to be secure, which shouldn't be controversial. The other thing that's crazy about this discussion is that there's a political opposite opinion, because there shouldn't be. Like, I want my elections to be totally secure. I want to make sure that the people who win are the people that we voted for. And the opposite side's like, whoa, slow down with that. We don't want that to happen exactly the way you're saying, which is crazy. Like, that should be one of the most disqualifying positions that Democrats take on an issue, that the American people would be like, this makes no sense. And especially when you see the overwhelming amount of people in this country who support things like voter ID, especially black people, who are somewhat offended, it seems, when you watch any of the videos of black people being asked on the street if they have an ID, and then a white guy being like, I thought you couldn't get one because I thought black people can't get those. You have seen people in a bunch of places, including like the rougher areas in New York City, being like, how dare you say this sort of thing here? I wouldn't go to those neighborhoods. There's parts of the Bronx and other places I would not go to in order to ask those questions and go viral on social media. Jimmy, by the way, just texted me, said he would never ask for money. Great. Well, then you sound like KSEV material right away, man. That sounds awesome, especially since it's a veteran thing. I think the value that he'd bring to it, and maybe he would donate his time for that, is the veteran component. But all right, I'll play the audio. This is President Trump talking about California and elections in general.
And you see it happening in California. Those numbers are coming down rapidly. They found a lot of mail-in ballots last night, shockingly. So we don't want that.
No, we don't.
And we added best of. This is best of Trump. No men in women's sports. No transgender mutilization surgery for our children.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would say that's pretty close to 99-1 also.
Yeah, I would think so. I like that he called that best of Trump when he was doing it. I want to play that audio again because I am uniquely amused by all of it. The California stuff, the no men and women's sports thing. That seems good. You know what? I'll say this before I hit play on the audio a second time. I'm seeing Caitlin Clark commercials Caitlin Clark is the name of the female WNBA basketball player who really, I think, got a lot of people's attention in college. And I don't think it's translated to the at WNBA as much. Like, I don't know that the ratings, I think they're better than they were for that sport. But I haven't looked them up and seen if they ever compare to men's sports. No offense, not trying to be a jerk, just telling you the truth. But how different would it be if Caitlin Clark had to play against dudes, which is the plan of the left? But here we go.
Still want cheating in our elections. And you see it happening in California. Those numbers are coming down rapidly. They found a lot of mail-in ballots last night, shockingly. So we don't want that. Then we added best of. This is best of Trump. No men in women's sports.
Yep.
No transgender mutilization surgery for our children.
Yeah.
I would say that's pretty close to 99 to 1.
You know what's crazy about that last one, too? The one that's the most controversial to some people, that you don't have surgery that removes the body parts of children, which is a crazy thing to say out loud. A lot of people on the right, a lot of conservatives would tell you that when you became an adult, do what you want. As hard as it would be to understand for people, and as many individuals as might say something about a mental health issue and not necessarily a need to change your body, the position that never gets talked about, that conservatives actually do have, is that once you're not a child anymore, it's not really a conversation politically that a side of the aisle, the side of the aisle I'm on, has a need to talk about. We don't have a need to have it in kids' books and stuff where you talk about that kind of thing. There's so many different ways to protect the innocence of children and not indoctrinate them and force all this kind of crazy stuff on them. But what I think is really, and I've pointed this out to liberal friends of mine who live in Chicago, that when they say that conservatives hate trans people, I usually correct that message. And I say, truthfully, what Republicans are talking about, because I think, as I believe and as a lot of people believe, this is the end-all, be-all of the discussion. Don't do any of that sort of stuff to kids. Just don't. Don't do it to children. If someone thinks that they want that done, let them become an adult first. Let them have a discussion on their own with I don't know who. I mean, I can't fathom some of this, but at the same time, if you're going that road, just wait to be an adult. Doesn't seem to be as controversial of a thing to say, but it's not quite said like that. And I think part of the reason why is it might actually make a lot of conservatives upset, because I think that it's missing the component that is something I and a lot of people believe, and something that I think a lot of data does support, that there's been a tremendous uptick in the amount of people who think that they were born in the wrong body because of the society we live in now. So there's a ton of people, Trump had some at his State of the Union, who regret changing their body. And so there's a big discussion about mental health and everything there. There's an offshoot of, what you're actually talking about. And I think part of the reason that what I'm saying a second ago isn't political rhetoric on the right is most likely because some of the people on the right wouldn't really like it. But it is truthfully the stance that when you become an adult, the options are yours to do whatever thing you want to do, I guess. I can't believe that this is actually a discussion we have at all. To be honest, it's one of the craziest. I didn't even mean to rant about this. I have so much other audio to play, but I'm here now. We're living in this moment. I'm going to say this. I'm going to take a break. We're going to come back and play a bunch of the other audio. It's one of the craziest things that I think about politically. And I know that James Tallarico, when asked what he thinks about at night when he goes to sleep, he said trans kids, which is uniquely creepy of a thing to say. But whenever political topics are bouncing around and I'm reading things, seeing audio out there and thinking about what to talk about, one of the things that most shocks me is that we have a debate in our society about removing the private parts of children because some people say that that's mentally healthy. That's an actual discussion that's out there in the world. And there's data that is so ridiculously one-sided in how it's collected and how crazy it would be to even collect data like that, but ridiculously one-sided that people think proves their point. And of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't prove their point. I don't know why anyone on God's earth would ever do anything like this or allow a child to do anything like this, at least until you're of an age where you're truthfully allowed to make decisions on your own. It's crazy to me that that's a discussion we have in politics. It doesn't even feel like it needs to be in the world of politics, to be honest. and yet apparently it does. And the biggest reason it does, I would say, is because a political side of the aisle that doesn't actually care about people thinks it helps them win elections. To say it out loud, they think it helps them win elections. Because by and large, the vast majority of people who have an opinion about this also aren't people who are going to do it to themselves. The vast majority of people who are, the strongest yelling, screaming opinions in social media, they're not people who've gone through surgeries. They're just people who think they need to have an opinion on a topic like this and have a strong opinion on a topic like this and have it be as crazy as it is in some cases. And it's shocking that I know it's June 4th, 2026, and this is a topic that's been talked about so much. No one needs to discuss it again, and yet here I am discussing it because, just being candid with you, it's one of the more surprising things I think falls into the realm of political topic, and probably why I don't talk about it more, because I'm not trying to hide from it. A part of me just thinks, like, how can we be debating this? And yet some people are. All right, we're going to take a break. After the break, we'll come back. We'll do some more serious stuff. I do have quite a bit of news today. Chris X was saying it on his show. The news cycle kind of died for a while, and now it feels like it's ramped back up, and I think that is true. There's a few different things out there that all feel relevant. I might try to play some podcast audio. When I first launched the show, I intended to play a lot of podcast stuff out there, and then a lot of the podcasters went really crazy. Like right around when I launched the show, I don't know if it was my fault, but right when I put into my show description that I was going to use certain podcasters and play their, I still like Bongino a lot, but use their audio, and Tucker Carlson almost made the description, they all went nuts. And so part of me does not play that anywhere near as much as I intended to, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do some of that. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. More coming up in a bit.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
We got a call late New Year's Eve. A father with big plans for his family the next day said his garage door spring just snapped. He couldn't get his car out and wouldn't be able to get his family to where they needed to go. He felt stuck and alone. So we showed up fast with the right spring and the right parts to fix it right. We didn't talk about the price. We didn't wait till the morning. We fixed it right then. Because at Garage Door Doctor, it's never just about the job. It's about the person behind it. The dad, the veteran, the grandpa, the neighbor. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. When you need help, we're the ones that show up. Call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz. We fix garage doors fast with quality parts designed to last a lifetime because we're proud to serve the people who rely on us.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Let's get to that breaking news. John Bolton is expected to plead guilty over mishandling classified documents. This is according to 3 sources familiar with the matter.
No way.
I'm going to go straight to CNN's senior crime and justice correspondent, Caitlin Poland. She has this exclusive reporting. Caitlin, what are you learning?
Pam, the Justice Department securing a guilty plea from John Bolton, the former national security advisor in the first Trump administration. My sources are telling me that he is expected to plead guilty to 1 count of illegally retaining classified information or national security information at his home. Now, this was a substantial case that had been investigated very significantly by first the Biden Justice Department, the whole way through the beginning of...
No, it's probably Biden that got him. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Hilarious the way CNN is going to cover this story. Hilarious for a couple reasons. First, Bolton himself is someone that said it was political prosecution to go after him. How dare anybody start this? But he is going to plead guilty to keeping some classified documents, something he shouldn't have done. I think there are other things that he probably also did that he's going to try to not wind up being charged with in order to plead guilty to this one. But I hope this is the tip of the iceberg. I'll tell you that. I hope that a whole lot of other people who we're pretty sure are guilty of some ridiculous things wind up getting hauled into courtrooms, tried. Eventually, they realize, oh, you're going to catch me. I'm going to have done something that you can prove. And then they also plead guilty. And then at some point, and mainstream media won't do this, but I'd want them to, admit out loud that all of this isn't political prosecution in the first place. And I love the Biden administration mention, too, because I think part of any investigation into anyone that's being unfriendly to Trump by the previous people in charge was really just to find a way to get rid of it, to make it go away, and why it takes the entire administration all that time to not find him guilty of anything. And I think it's more important who's in the White House right now when he is actually going to plead guilty to a thing he's charged with. I think that matters. I think those components are valuable, to say the very least. Also, this I thought was interesting as far as news out there. The first of its kind top fraudsters, not the most wanted list in the world of what we know it before, but this is the most fraudster wanted list, I think is one way to say it. Here's Fox on this topic.
Good evening, John. And this extends far past Ohio to all 50 states. But as you mentioned, for the first time, the DOJ and FBI put together a most wanted list of alleged fraudsters across the country.
Nice.
Americans deserve to know that if someone lies or cheats or steals to get ahead, they will be punished, and they deserve a government that will never be taken advantage of by fraudsters.
Yep.
The list unveiled today in Columbus, Ohio, features 8 suspects accused of money laundering, healthcare fraud, mortgage fraud, wire fraud, and mail fraud to the tune of tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah. 8
Let us know any information.
Cash, I'll let you speak. Just give me a second there, buddy. 8 people and tens of millions of dollars is ridiculous. Here's Cash.
No, any information. There is no bad piece of information. The only bad piece of information is the one you don't give us.
Officials are focusing on Ohio, but say the problem grows even bigger with many of the scams involving non-citizens living in the United States.
What?
A popular fraud scheme, John, according to officials, romance scams.
Yeah, romance scams sound terrible. Actually, the BBB, the Better Business Bureau, at times when I've been doing radio, not here yet. I should do it here because they run an ad here. They've come on and told me about romance scams on shows I've done and how horrible they are and how it's always people who don't live here. The funniest thing about, I don't know if funny is the right word, funny if you have a dark sense of humor like I tend to at times, but one of the funnier things about all the ridiculous amounts of fraud during COVID is a lot of it was sent to people in other countries who were living there. Like, it was so inept, our government, and the inability to detect fraud when certain people are in positions of power, wherever that might be. I don't mean just who the president is. I mean who anyone is in charge of any amount of money going certain places. That's why Doge was so important at the beginning of this term in office for the current president, for President Trump, finding out all of the ways, and USAID, all the ways that these things are misused and abused and sent over here and sent over there. But as we uncovered the billions and billions of dollars of fraud that happened during COVID, there were a bunch of checks just mailed to other countries. And it's like, that's probably right, is how the politicians treated it, or much worse than that, of course. One other thing that I think is pretty interesting that's getting a lot of coverage is a story about data centers becoming more and more prevalent throughout the country and or the world, and what that means. Here's a little bit of this.
Data centers are expected to account for nearly 3% of the world's projected electricity use in just the next 4 years. That is according to a new United Nations report. It comes as voters in a city near Los Angeles approve a first-of-its-kind measure to ban the construction of data centers.
Look, I'll be honest about something when it comes to AI. There's a whole lot of wasted AI. And the data centers, they can't know this. They're not going to be able to weed it out. But there's a lot of dumb things that people ask AI that they don't need AI to talk about or think about, which means we don't need as many data centers as they're creating. There's so many stupid. I know that's a silly take, but it's true. There are a lot of silly questions out there. In general, though, I think that there's a point where we'll all get concerned about the likelihood of this. And I think it's Trump and Elon Musk and others have said that maybe we build these data centers on the moon, which sounds kind of cool. I think that sounds better for a lot of us. And I wonder if technology advances and the need for space becomes smaller. I'm not so worried about the energy output. Maybe I should be. But I do think that obviously that energy is going to be created a certain way. It's going to be beneficial to a whole lot of people in this state in how we send that energy out into the world, et cetera, et cetera. It's not going to be clean, I guess is what I'm saying. And I don't think any of the elites care on the left about that because they want to ask their AI whatever their dumb question is. Also this, as far as another trending story goes, the ladies of The View are back in the news for saying crazy stuff. There was a, quote, cat fight over the press confrontation, Trump of criticizing certain reporters. We've seen this before. I do like playing this audio when it happens. I hear Sonny Hostin getting very mad.
But I also take a bit of umbrage at the other reporters there because, by the way, the other reporters weren't smiling. The men weren't smiling, and he didn't mention that. But I do feel that when one of your colleagues is attacked in that way, a follow-up question should have been, or a statement, someone in the room, maybe one of the men, should have said, "Sir, you should not speak to her that way."
Well,
and I would have liked to have seen that.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there first. And I know the argument that's about to happen, which is kind of unfair. But I will say this. I think that she's crazy and insane, first. I also think that the society we live in, that's the kind of take that Sonny Hostin has since no one did the thing that she's claiming she wanted to have happened. However, if I think a guy had stood up in that room and been like, "How dare you, President Trump? I need to stand up for these ladies who can't stand up for themselves," I think Sonny Hostin's take would be the exact opposite. How dare that man try to do this thing? How dare he become a chivalrous white knight or whatever she thinks he is in that moment? I think you're darned if you do and darned if you don't with the left on this kind of stuff. And we're about to make my point.
I'm going to disagree with you because I think the job of reporters is not to react to that kind of nonsense, right?
Yeah.
And I think the whole thing is when you're a reporter, the story shouldn't be about you.
That
and
is
when
true.
it is, it's
When
a
you're a
mistake.
good reporter.
When you're a good reporter, but not well, yeah, that's fair. But but it's really hard. I mean, one of the things I know Caitlin really well, and she texts Maggie Haberman, a whole bunch of people I know really well, and to react is where you lose in that game because. With these people, every accusation is a confession. Yeah. So what he is saying is about him and not about her. Right. And I thought she handled it well. She has to be absolutely says nothing. She made a little joke about Alabama, which was fantastic. Yeah. But the minute you say something, you get dragged into it in a way that he benefits and you don't.
What about the other reporters? Do you think maybe they should have said...
Nobody should say anything.
Because I think this administration is so aberrant. I think they are just so... It's just such an abnormal situation. I don't know that you play by the rules that we used to play by.
Because that becomes the story then, the fight between him and her. If she responds,
although it's already the story,
but
right?
But no, it's not because she then asked a question. By the way,
I'm gonna stop it. I can't take it, and it just keeps going from there. I think you get the point. They start arguing and yelling at each other, and it's hilarious. And I love that Sonny Hostin's take is also we have to rise above the Trump administration and not do whatever it is that we would normally do if some other horrible person said a horrible, terrible thing to us. Look, Trump said, by the way, that Caitlin Collins doesn't smile. And it doesn't seem like she does. I think that's a fair observation. I don't think I see her smile very often at all when she's talking to anybody connected to the Trump administration, because you can see it in the face of some people. They hate that guy, and they act like they hate that guy, and they claim to do unbiased, down-the-middle news media, and yet their opinion comes out. I used to work with a guy at another place. He was the news director at a place that I was working. We had a little newsroom. It was like 3 or 4 people, and this one person was the director. I don't know how much it mattered. It wasn't a large group of people, so like you were in charge of 2 other individuals. But he used to do the news the same time that I would do my show. So I'd talk about topics on the radio. I'd give opinion. I would tell the audience I'm giving them an opinion because that's what this is. That's what this job is. And then he would come in and try to give the opposite opinion as part of his news. I remember I called people over a couple times. I'm like, this is crazy. These are the topics I was just discussing. Granted, they were newsworthy. They might not have been the highest level news things for him to be reporting on, but they were newsworthy. But he was also giving the exact opposite side. And I was like, does that give us credibility, or do we lose it there? Because I am telling people I'm giving an opinion. He's claiming that he's doing news and he's doing the, but I think that a lot of people on that side of the political aisle on the left, they just can't handle hearing an opinion that's not theirs. Even if I tell you mine is not actually, not that any of it's a lie. I don't do it that way. That's not how I do radio. But it's something, an extension of what I think the obvious facts are telling me. But nonetheless, I digress. I just thought that was so interesting because it would happen a lot. And you just sit there and be like, darn, well, I might say different words than that in the moment. But you'd say to yourself, like, what is the entire company telling me right now about who they agree with? Because one of us is doing opinionated talk. The other person is doing a news. And the news person is injecting an opinion. And I would get messages from listeners being like, this is so biased. I can't believe you're doing a news on the same station as this. And I think I've talked about this before on this station. That's kind of why I like the fact that we have a town hall news. I know that KSEV used to have its own newsroom for a while, and a lot of radio stations had big newsrooms, and those have mostly died out. I think there's still some news people. I know there are in this community that work at radio stations here in town. But by and large, most of that news is brought in from other places, and it's really important what place you pick. You don't get as much local stuff as you should when Town Hall is doing the coverage for you and everybody else throughout the country, but at least you don't get injected in opinion from someone who might not be on the side of the aisle you're on. And it's so weird because this is true. I don't know why I'm telling you this on the radio, but I'm doing it now. You can't actually ask somebody what their political opinions are when you hire them. I don't think you can anyway. You can tell them what type of show they'll be doing, what type of show they'll be working on. Like, you can make sure they're aware of the environment and the opinions of the people they would be working with. But I don't think you can actually require them to agree with that stuff in order to work there. And I think I've told this story before too, and I'll just do this one even quicker. One of the people that I wound up working with at that same place, one of the producers they hired for me, was a crazy left-leaning dude. Just a crazy, just so far, and just so angry, like all the time. And this reminds me of the Caitlin Collins topic because I would leave the studio at the end of a 3-hour radio show that he would have to sit and push buttons for. And he was just so mad for 3 hours, like every day. You'd look at a guy and you're like, man, he doesn't smile. Not at all. Half of my show is not even about politics when I do shows that long, or I guess sometimes with this show and what I'm doing right now. Half of my show is just having fun. And you'd watch this kid just sit there like stone-faced at everything. And I'd find that funny. Like, I would try not to laugh because of how ridiculous it was. But these are people that apply for jobs and then show up at places and then push companies to try to get people removed from jobs because they don't agree with them. Like, you see this everywhere. We're seeing it right now at 60 Minutes. And some of the people who are standing up and supporting Scott Pelley, and it's so stupid to me to honestly see so many individuals saying, like, he was a stalwart of journalism. He was never someone. I have audio. I should do this. I should. I was going to not do this, but I should. Scott Pelley oftentimes was very much critical of the Trump administration. And some of this news and stuff has just been buried. It's just gone. It's the kind of thing people don't really talk about anymore. and even the way in which he would interview Biden, like Pele was biased. A whole lot of people are easily biased, and you can see it in the way that they behave, the way that they cover certain topics. And yet we now pretend like this sort of thing didn't happen. Where is this piece of audio? There's a few of them. Let's do this one. He interviewed Biden numerous times. There were always softball questions and softball interviews. This is one of the better softball ones with Biden, and then we'll compare it to some of the stuff Pele said about Trump.
By the way, we've also reduced the debt. We reduced the deficit by $350 billion my first year. This year, it's going to be over $1.5 trillion reduce the debt. So to continue to put people in a position to be able to...
Pele didn't ask a follow-up question to whatever the hell Biden just said there. That's one of my favorite ones that went viral. But there was something about talking about the hijacking of a debate. And I think this was in 2016, where Pele was asked the opinion, and he said the debate was hijacked by the horrible, terrible Trump, who wound up, of course, winning that debate and then winning the election in 2016 and then doing it again. But there's just so many examples of ridiculous. Here it is. I found it. I think that this is Pele actually claiming that the debate was hijacked.
It left many Republicans feeling that they were banging on the cockpit door of a party that had been hijacked, with no idea where the GOP was headed or whether it would land in one piece.
Man, tell us what you really think, Scott. Please give your real opinion of President Trump when he was running for that debate in 2016. One more time, the perfect, completely non-biased reporting of one Scott Pele who is no longer with 60
Minutes. Left many Republicans feeling that they were banging on the cockpit door of a party that had been hijacked, with no idea where the GOP was headed or whether it would land in one piece.
You have no idea what's happening next. The world as we know it is over. This is Scott Pele, unbiasedly reporting for 60 Minutes. I mean, there's so many of those clips out there. And so it's just kind of funny because people don't realize, this is the way I should say it, and then I'll take a break. I have one more piece of audio I'll play. Let's play this piece of audio first, and then I'll take a break. But what I was going to say a second ago is there are so many people that claim that there's no opinion in the stuff they talk about because they agree with all the things they're saying. They pretend there's no opinion. They've brainwashed themselves to believe that every American agrees with their opinion too, and a whole bunch of people don't agree with the opinions that are given on the 60 Minutes of the world and the biased news media places of the world. And yet they're so Jimmy Kimmel's a great example of this. They're so self-centered that what they think is opinion, they talk about it as fact because they're like, everybody agrees with me. This is probably a fact, even when they know it's not. But all right, let's play one last piece of audio. This is C-SPAN. This is a talk about SNAP data. I think this is pretty interesting too. There were several different people, I think even J.D. Vance, putting questions out saying, why is it this hard for the federal government, USDA, to get SNAP data from certain states because they know that it's a fraudulent slush fund kind of thing too. We just want transparency. Why is that so difficult to gain from you?
Terry, do you know what the SNAP fraud rate actually is according to the most recent estimates from USDA? The fraud rate.
Well, that is based on data we're receiving from the states that we can't verify. That's the whole point of this, is we have no ability to verify California, Minnesota, where the fraud has been
reclaiming
seen,
my time.
It was
1.6% according to USDA.
Your state is saying we only have 1.6% fraud rate, which we all know is an absolute joke.
I'll say it again. Understand?
I love it. I love it so much. Minnesota specifically too, when it's like you're claiming that your fraud is 1%, and we've seen billions and billions of dollars being fraudulently
between
stolen.
Error rates and fraud rates. I honestly don't. It is one of the lowest fraud rate in any program in America is the SNAP program.
The lowest fraud rate of any program in America is the SNAP program? You can't be serious when you say that.
Your own data says 1.6%.
Again,
we don't actually have the data. We want the data from all the states to give us the data, and they don't want to tell us the true information. Why don't they want to do that? What's the answer to that question? We all know the answer. It's kind of like what's going on in California right now, where they're saying they don't know who won the election, and they continue to take time to count ballots that are showing up somehow. All right, I'm going to take a very quick break because I definitely still need to do this. But we'll be back. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters. And we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Beautiful and healthy trees do increase your property value, but the key word here is healthy. Sick, ugly trees will actually decrease the value of your home. That's why I recommend you call Lewis Flory with Ability Tree Experts at 281-441-4179. They can spot insect and disease problems the average person will never see. They will make sure your trees are properly pruned to allow sunlight and fresh air into the canopy and allow strong winds to blow through instead of damaging your tree. Call Lewis Flory today. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. I like to do some silly stuff. We call it the quick four-ish segment. These are four or so topics, mostly with audio that I find that I think are silly because we all need a good palate cleanser from the serious stuff that's out there. This one's awesome. A French priest ran down an 18-year-old suspect who was accused of stealing a car before crashing it outside of a church. Reverend Jean-Baptiste Commons, I think is his name, was in his attire, his clerical attire, as he was running down a dude from the scene. This is amazing to talk about. I have some audio of the guy with the story of what it's like to look up and see a priest dressed as a priest running and attacking a guy who's stealing a car and successfully basically becoming a Batman-style vigilante.
Grabbed him, put him down. He was resisting a lot, trying to run away definitely, and so I had to unfortunately give him a few punches and hurt my hand a little bit. Nothing major, but making sure that there was no threat, since I didn't know if he had a gun, if he had a weapon. It was definitely suspicious behavior, and as soon as I had the police officers take care of this gentleman, I rushed back to the lady, make sure she needed the anointing of the six, blessing or something. I was there too with the medics, had to do my prayers as usual and have dinner with the community.
Wow. Just another day.
Just another day in the D.
I got to be honest, this might be better than Batman. I'm a huge Batman fan, so it almost feels wrong to say that. But if you actually have a priest fighting crime and then potentially praying with you after, there's something cool about that, man. So this is a uniquely awesome story where a French priest ran down an 18-year-old suspect for stealing a car. And like I said, then made sure to check on the woman and all involved. And just acting like it's no big deal, which is kind of cool. Another story out there that I saw that I thought was interesting, there were a couple fights that broke out at a kindergarten graduation in Pennsylvania. This feels like the kind of story that probably should have come out of Florida or somewhere, but it didn't. This is a Pennsylvania thing. One of the guys fighting was holding a baby, and someone actually had to take the baby from him while fighting. So this is horrible. A part of it, if I'm being serious, like that's disgusting to put a child, a little baby in that level of harm's way, but it's also just ridiculous. Like it kind of reminds me of whenever I've heard of someone getting into a fight at like a kid's baseball game. Like I don't understand how whatever you were feeling, whoever it was feeling it, got to the level where people wanted to fight each other. I get passionate parents. I understand that, but I don't know that I understand this. But yeah, here's a little bit of audio. Police said there was an aggressor who was charged with disorderly conduct and trespassing. Pretty crazy.
Oh my God!
At graduation?
Right.
It's terrible. I can't believe that that's something that would happen. I don't know why you would fight at a kindergarten graduation.
Because you're endangering not only my children, but the other children that are in the room as well. We need to grow up.
And the guy who's holding the baby. You know, it reminded me, and I shouldn't joke about this, and I don't find it funny, again, to put a baby in harm's way, but it reminded me of the guy who caught the baseball. I don't know if anybody remembers that viral video. He had a baby in his hand. He had a beer in his hand. He dropped the baby, caught the ball, and then swung back and grabbed the baby with his arm. So he was holding the baby with his hand. I think it was his left hand, and he let the baby go. The baby drifted in the air a little bit, caught baseball, swung down, held baby, beer in hand, other hand the entire time. It's incredible to watch. Also reckless, also terrible. I'm glad the baby wasn't hurt, by the way, and I don't know what the fight was about or why, again, you fight at a kindergarten graduation. It just feels like the wrong lesson to be teaching the kids, among other things, to say the very least. All right, one last topic. World's largest blanket fort was constructed in Las Vegas. I have talked about this before on other shows. I should talk about it here. This is a show I've been doing for months now on this station. I probably need to stop saying that, the stuff I used to talk about other places when I had a longer show. But I would like to set a Guinness World Record. At some point, I would like to hold one, even if it's for a day. I just feel like that's an achievement I'd like to have. Some people in Vegas now have one because they constructed 14,103 square feet of blanket fort. This is a very dumb Guinness World Record to set, but here we go.
We didn't want to just break it, we wanted to smash it. And so between the two gyms, really set the standard for the future that no one will ever be able to break.
Hey, we're the West Tech engineering team, and we're here to break the world record for the largest blanket fort.
And now, I can confirm this blanket fort had a final measurement of 14,103.
It was a bunch of college kids, as you can hear there. They were pretty happy that they broke the blanket fort record. I don't know that I want that one. I want a Guinness World Record. I don't know if I want that one. I also wonder what it would be like to invite a friend to the blanket fort thing and how they would react to it. I think a lot of people, myself included, might be the friend to be like, don't do that, man. You don't need to go to that. You can skip that thing. It would be better if we just don't go. Let's find something else, anything else to do. Let's go see that movie that Jimmy X was talking about that sounds pretty good. The historical movie, instead of building the blanket fort with a bunch of other dudes from our college. I want a Guinness World Record. I will say that again definitively. I don't want a stupid one. I don't want a weird one. I think I want one that I would set by myself, too. I don't think I want a team one for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but that's how I feel about it. All right. That's it. That's the whole show today. Thrilled to be with you, as always, on KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Pressure is the name of the movie that Jimmy X said to go see. A bunch of showings tonight, a bunch of showings tomorrow, all over the place. Brendan Fraser plays Dwight D. Eisenhower. So it definitely seems like a pretty cool thing. I got to go see that. He's 2 for 2. He recommended the Melania movie to my wife and I, and we really enjoyed it. So now Jimmy X is recommending this one. Plus, it's history, and the benefit of that is my wife won't fall asleep. There will be no superheroes for her to fall asleep to, just real-life heroes. All right, that's it. That's the show. Talk to you later. Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, Voice of Texas.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700